Goedemiddag meneer, KLM 713. We're passing flight level 137 for flight level 900.
Wambong, Someni Wiwiri. Suriname, mystiek onmetelijk land. Land met nog zoveel geheimen die allemaal ontdekt willen worden. Of niet? Suriname bestaat voor 80% uit tropisch regenwoud. Dat is gelegen in het grootste district Sipalewini. Hierin ligt ook het Centraal Surinaams Natuurreservaat. Dit natuurreservaat staat op de werelderfgoedlijst van UNESCO en is een van de meest ongerepte gedeelten van het Amazonegebied. Uit historische vondsten moet worden aangenomen dat circa 10.000 jaar geleden de eerste Indianen Suriname binnentrokken. Zij waren de eerste bewoners en worden tegenwoordig inheemse genoemd. De Surinamers omschrijven hun tropisch regenwoud niet voor niets als the beating heart of the Amazon. De Surinamers zijn zich bewust van het enorme potentieel van het tropisch regenwoud. Zij zoeken naar een evenwichtige balans tussen het exploiteren van bodemschatten, natuurbehoud en ecotourisme. In Groot Paramaribo en in de kuststreek kun je kraanwater gewoon drinken. In het binnenland doe je er echter verstandig aan om het rivierwater eerst te koken of water uit flessen te drinken. Bijvoorbeeld dat van Parasprings. In de bergen en bij watervallen zijn natuurlijke bronnen die zeer zuiver zijn en als basis dienen voor dit in Suriname gebottelde bronwater.
The people of Ontario have reason to wonder whether there's really very much left of the unspoiled wilderness they've always regarded as their birthright. A provincial government report has revealed the extent to which mercury pollution is spreading through the province's waterways, contaminating fish to the point where they are unfit for human consumption. Unacceptable levels of mercury have been found in varying species of fish at points in the Ottawa River, the St. Lawrence River, the entire Great Lakes system, and other major bodies of water, all the way up to the far northwestern end of the province. Sport fishermen in the affected area have been advised which species are contaminated and are being told to fish for fun. Such advice is of little help to commercial fishermen and others who have to fish to live, such as the Indians of the Wabigoon River.
Northwestern Ontario's fishing is being extolled at sportsman shows from Toronto to Dallas this month. In 6 or so weeks, when fishing lodges open for the season on the English and Wabigoon River system, a shore lunch of freshly caught, mercury-contaminated fish will once again be the highlight of the tourist day. Last autumn, definite symptoms of irreversible mercury poisoning were found in 16 of 89 people tested. They were among the more than 1,000 Indians living on 2 reserves on the mercury-poisoned waterway. The Fifth Estate now has a copy of an interim report made by toxicologist Dr. Tom Clarkson following a 3-month program of blood and hair sampling. His report states flatly that the waterway should be closed to all fishing. In one experiment, Dr. Clarkson reports 2 women developed a blood level higher than World Health Organization's safe standards after just 1 meal of fresh fish. Those Indians found to have mercury poisoning symptoms last year have deteriorated physically over the winter, and symptoms are now evident in people not diagnosed in 1975. And we now have evidence there may have been cases of mercury poisoning in infants, congenital Minamata disease, in the 6 years since the Ontario government first revealed mercury contamination of fish because of dumping from the Reed Paper Company mill at Dryden. That dumping was stopped after our program last fall, but the mercury already in the river will continue to poison the fish and those who eat them for as long as 100 years. And this is the inevitable result of that poisoning, Minamata disease. Advanced symptoms include deafness, blindness, loss of coordination, violent convulsions accompanied by savage assaults of pain, twisted limbs and extremities, salivation, mental disturbances, death. In congenital patients, infants born to mothers who ingested too much mercury while carrying their children, it can never be known whether there are any conscious sensations. When Marcel Papacy of Grassy Narrows saw this film, he realized his 3.5-year-old son, Keith, might be a victim of congenital Minamata disease, not cerebral palsy, as he'd been told.
I've seen a film
Of what?
Of the Japanese they were sick from it. I mean, from mercury, and that's how I noticed what was wrong.
Dr. Newbury, what is congenital Minamata disease or fetal Minamata disease?
In a case like Keith Papacy, the muscular incoordination is obvious, the difficulty with speech and voluntary control of movements. But it's much more difficult to demonstrate the sensory impairment and the impairment in vision and in hearing.
What were you doing for a living the year he was born?
I was guiding.
You were guiding in a fishing camp?
Yeah, I was there.
Were you and your wife eating a lot of fish that year?
Yes.
What would you guess causes Keith's symptoms?
Well, the probability certainly is that it's mercury poisoning.
Robert Billingsley is president of the company that has dumped 10 tons of mercury into the Wabigoon River.
It was pointed out that in almost any sample, you would find perhaps 5% of the population of Toronto that would show symptoms of Minamata disease. Headaches, for example, is a symptom.
The important message is that that's what mercury poisoning looks like. That's the kind of tragedy it produces. And I think there is a tremendous responsibility on the public health authorities concerned to do everything humanly possible to prevent more such cases.
That hasn't happened because public officials like Ontario Resources Minister Leo Bernier continue to quibble and refuse to face the dreadful evidence already available. The river system will be open to sports fishermen and their Indian guides again this spring.
Unless the river is closed to sport fishing, these people will continue to eat the poisoned fish. And then there is no question that people will continue to become sick.
Do you feel that people care what's happening or that the government cares?
They don't even think that we exist. And the thing is, I mean, the poor kids are going to be, in the future, they'll be all having the same kind of problems. You can't give a kid a new life, no matter how much money you stack up.
Unless the waterway is closed to sport fishing and the appropriate compensation undertaken by the government, people will continue to get sick.
And there'll be more children like Keith.
Yes.
No one can prove that Keith has or hasn't mercury poisoning. There's only one definitive test, a post-mortem study of brain tissue. It's difficult to believe we'll have to wait for that to get action.